What the fuck is going on here? Okay. So, like the Spider-Man t-shirt, I think I've ordered in other videos. Anyway, so today I'm at the laptop and the computer. Anyway, so welcome to my movie review of the first 2025 movie I've seen this year. Not the first movie I've seen in the cinema this year, that was Nosferatu. And then this is the exact opposite, Dogman. So yeah, welcome to my movie review of Dogman, which is directed by Peter Hastings, starring uh, Pete Davidson and fucking Eliza Fisher, Lil Rel, and Billy Boyd of all people, which I found funny because I haven't really seen him in much other than like Chucky season 2, and it's based on the books that are created by the author of the Captain Underpants books, and this is a DreamWorks movie. So yeah, so I seen the movie the other day. I'm gonna give you my thoughts on it. So yeah, the plot of Dogman is you got this cop and this dog, which is his partner. Fridge, shut the fuck up. Anyway, so the dog and his partner, they're trying to solve a crime, blah 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 blah. They're trying to stop this evil cat named Petey, played by Pete Davidson. Sorry. Anyway, by Pete Davidson. I'm just Pete and I'm on drugs. No, that's the other way around. Sorry. And I like drugs. Anyway, whatever. Get to that. So he's played by Pete Davidson. Essentially, one thing leads to another. He's fighting them, ends up in an accident, ends up dying. He crashes, falls, whatever. Then he goes to the hospital. They end up replacing his kind of head or his body, his head. They replace their brains or heads or whatever. And Dogman becomes a cop and a very successful cop, and puts things on the solves cases and arrests Petey the cat many times. Petey always ends up in prison. You also have Lil Rel, who plays a cop who's like a fucking head of the police department, whatever. And you've got this news reporter that works for him that's like secretly in love with him, voiced by Elijah Fisher. And the cameraman is voiced by Billy Boyd. And all that other stuff. So essentially he keeps arresting Petey the cat. You got this mayor who's a bit of a bitch, but she kind of then redeems herself near the end of it. And eventually he ends up messing stuff up, and the case ends up getting closed for him. Sorry, he ends up losing the case. He's not able to he's not on the case anymore, basically. So, which breaks the cop's heart, but the dog still wants to, help out and try and get involved in a typical police movie fashion. So, Petey keeps failing, escaping prison and arresting him. And then eventually he has this idea to get an evil vacuum cleaner and destroy the place. He also has someone who works for him who he ends up firing, and she ends up kind of like making fun of him here and there, whatever. And eventually he's like, look, why don't I get a cloning machine? So he orders one, and he ends up ordering a cloning machine to clone himself, but doesn't realise that the clone will not grow old until another 18 years. So he's a baby who's like the exact opposite of him, and at first he finds him really fucking irritating. Then he fucks off. Dogman finds him. They bond a fucking friendship together, and essentially what ends up happening then is, he goes, Petey then starts to miss him, the younger cat, essentially. And they bond. Younger cat goes and gets Petey's dad. Little Petey's the younger cat. Then he has like an evil plan to do this thing for Dogman to take over the world, and then he has this other evil plan to make this fish that is kind of shown throughout the movie that's an evil fish come to life. So it does, and that fish wants to destroy all do-gooders. So essentially, Dogman stops cat, Petey, but then what ends up happening is little Petey ends up getting stolen and captured by the evil villain, and they're going to destroy him. So Dogman and Petey have to team up to stop him from destroying the city. But here's a twist. He makes all the buildings actually come to life. And anyway, they have to stop the bad guy. The bad guy turns good, gets arrested, saves the day. News reporter gets with the police detective, and they all live happily ever after. And then Petey and Dogman become friends, and Petey ends up, they end up, little Petey ends up going to, basically, both of their houses, ends up, getting, both of them get custody of him, even though they're not, like, parents. He said, oh, you can stay over at his sometimes. And he also has his ball, Greg, and Petey turns into a good guy. I'm trying to think of anything else I missed. Is that the basic plot? I don't think it's not the basic plot. Is there anything else important in the plot I missed? Yeah, but that's about it. Really. Yeah, that's the summary of the film. So, what did I think of the movie? I fucking loved it. I honestly thought this movie was great. I thought it was really funny. I thought the animation was, first of all, the animation is unbelievable. It's this kind of nice 2D, 3D animation style, but it's done like a book, like the books are. It's in the same style as the book. It kind of has a similar style to like Captain Underpants film as well, which is not directed by Peter Haystack, or whatever. But yeah, I really, really love this movie. To begin with, first of all, Pete Davidson, fucking hilarious, really great villain. He has a lot of great scenes in this film. I love the montage where he's constantly getting arrested. Where they're like, I have an evil plan to do this, and then like he's like, come on, he's like, I'm gonna do this or whatever, and he goes and gets like these inventions. He's like, got this thing, and he's like, he keeps escaping prison. Like essentially, what happens is he's in prison. He's like, God, I hate this place, and then this guy's like, hey, do you want this or whatever? Like this kind of bigger cat is being like nice. Oh, it's nice to see you. And he's like, get away from me. I was like, oh, whatever. And he's like, then he has like an idea. Hey, sorry, I was so rude earlier. Here you go, or whatever. And then like he sits down on he's like, want to go on the seesaw? Yeah. He sits down and he goes, so long, suckers. And you get this great funny montage where essentially Petey keeps coming up with these evil smells. I have this idea, and they're like, and then he's like, Petey's escaped, what? And all that. Like the mayor keeps coming in, Petey's escaped, what? Petey's escaped, Petey's escaped, Petey's escaped, and it keeps showing him, so long, suckers, and he keeps going out of prison in all these different ways. And then like there's a funny moment where the big cat gives him the balloons. He's like, here you go, and he grabs it and goes, so long, suckers, and he got two big cats, one with an eye patch. He's like, are you here? They're just kind of talking or whatever. And like, here you go, Petey, here you go. It's like, thank you. And he's like, so long, suckers, and he keeps going out and flying out, and they're like, he's escaped, and then all that, and then you keep getting like the mayor going, he's escaped, and then you have the cop going, oh, what, Dogman, and then Dogman keeps popping in and jumping in, kind of just, like keeps popping in. It's like, Petey's escaped again. Cuts to the news reporter saying Petey's escaped a bunch of times and stuff, and like you just have him like just constantly arresting them and putting handcuffs on him. 1 second. Check something. My doggy. Yeah. So you have like him consistently putting handcuffs on him, but the way it's done is really cool. Like the animation style kind of changes slightly, with the colour and the shading, which I thought was really, really well done. Like almost like a book itself, like a comic, because that's essentially what it is. And it's done in that comic book style. And he's like, boom, like that, and just like escaped, and all that kind of stuff. And it's just this really funny montage. And you get all these interesting, like, he's like big robots and all these other things. He's like, and he's like, got all these cool different fucking inventions, and he's like stopping them, and it's just he's constantly stopping them and all. It's just a great montage sequence. So I was a big fan of that. And it was just really, really funny. Like, it was really well written, it was funny, it was entertaining, So I enjoyed that. I love when Petey was just in the lab going, oh, what can I do? How can I get him? It's like, do you have any ideas? He's like, no. She's like, no. you fired me. I just love seeing you fail. God, you're so annoying. Like, and Pete Davidson just brings the energy. Like, I love him as a voice actor as well. He's funny. He's energetic. He's entertaining. It's like, God, you're just so frustrating. How am I going to get rid of him? It's like, no, I'm not doing that. It's like, well, I have this plan. It's like, no, I'm not listening. It's like, I have an idea to take it over. And just the way, like, in certain scenes, like, when he's talking, it's like, I'm going to do that. And then, like, the dialogue box pops up, like, ha, ha, or whatever. Almost like a comic. And, like, the animation style changes and just the attention to detail of him going, ah, ha, ha. It's like, why do you have to do this? Get out of here. It's stupid. Oh, fine. You just go and mess your plan up. It's fine. That's all that stuff is funny. Um, so I loved all that. I thought, um, just how he was a well written villain as well, and how he hates the world. Like when he's walking, he's just like not like there's a scene where he's walking through the city and once again, beautiful animation with the moon and seeing the reflection of the water. And like he's just like, oh, I hate everything, looking at the flowers, like, oh, they're dead, whatever, blah 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 blah. And essentially by the end of the film, when he's walking through, you get this really, really wholesome and sweet scene where he's just kind of like he's looking up at the moon and he picks up the little Pete. He's like, oh, and then like little Petey throughout the whole film is so positive and is the opposite of the Petey we know and love. Um, he's so positive. And he's like, "You're right, Dad. The world is awful. I don't get why people say like it's awful. Look at these flowers. They're dying. Look at this. Look at that." And then you get this scene that I'm not even gonna lie, really powerful. And I went, "Oh my God, that kind of got me." And he's like, "Look here, son. Look at the stars and sky. It's beautiful. The world is great. I was wrong. All this stuff. Don't ever be like me. Blah 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 blah." And it's like, shit, that's a really well written character. And as the movie goes on, you see why he develops and why he changes. Um, and usually I'm not a fan of like villains turning good, but I really enjoyed this one. In terms of that, you know. But I love whenever he's like making his inventions. I have this idea to destroy Dogman. I gotta destroy him. It's like, yeah, well, you've obviously failed. Well, I have an idea for this one and this one. And then I love that, like there's multiple scenes where he's in a lab and he's like, yes, and he's just doing it. And they have those kind of quick cuts and fast humor, like, here we go, this way, this way, this way, and they have the dialogue text pop up. And it's that kind of quick humor that you'd see in the likes of fucking the Lego movie or something like that. And I love that humor. And the overall tone of the city and that type of stuff is great. I loved a lot of the funny jokes, like a lot of really funny literal jokes. There's a really funny scene where Dogman is like, going in and he's like, "You're off the case, Dogman, blah blah blah. I'm sorry, but you're off the case," and he's there kind of talking. It's like, you gotta pack your things or whatever, because you let Petey get away. You gotta pack your things. You're off the case, Dogman. And he's all sad and he's packing away. He's like, "I'm sorry, Dogman. I'm sorry," or whatever. And then, but it's okay. And then he licks him or whatever. He's like, "Oh, stop it, no, go away," or whatever. And he's like, "Look, maybe there's something come up, whatever." And then he just kind of goes off. And it's like, it shows that, yeah, Lil Rel's character, he's funny, he's comedic, but he's also caring to Dogman. Because the trailers make it out like he's not that close with Dogman, which is not the case at all, actually. Petey's escaped! And I love that how it just says escaped, and, when he goes, Petey's escaped, and it just kind of, dialogue pops up. I love that. I've said that like 50 times. And it's like that great moment. It's like, I can't help because the mayor's going to be here. And it's like, I cannot deal with her right now. And she just busts in like, oh, hi, mayor. It's like, yeah, Peter's escaped. You have a dog on the case. It's ridiculous. You are off the case or whatever. And he's like, what? I can't have her breathing down my neck and all this stuff. So I thought that was funny. But anyway, you have like a scene that's kind of emotional. Dog man is walking and it's in the dark and he kind of goes home, goes upstairs, whatever. And then he starts like looking at the ball that he got from his owner, Greg. And essentially he starts kind of going, "Ooh," like crying, but like he's howling. So they make it kind of, they make it kind of funny scene, a funny kind of sad scene. A sad scene kind of funny, but it's not like an awkward joke or anything. So I thought that was great. Um, I loved all that. I loved the part where what's it, where Petey's there coming up with his plan, and he's like, I have to find a way to kill Dogman, and all that, and he's just kind of like, and she's like, why don't you do this, that, and the other, or whatever, and they're just kind of having this back and forth dialogue that goes on for a bit, and he's like, you know what, you're fired, get out, or whatever. It's like, you fired me, fine, I don't want this job anyway, and then I think he sticks his head out the window, he's like, you know what, go away, I don't want it. He's like, well, fine, you're not going to hear from me again, and then I love when he comes back, and he's like, here, what's your opinion on this? It's like, I don't know. You fired me, and it's walking down, and she's walking down the boxes, and I'm so happy about that. Fine, you think I can't find another person to work for me? And she just goes, you definitely can't find another person to work for you. You're pathetic. So I just thought that was funny, that like idea. That their dialogue and dynamic was great. And the thing is, like, I didn't know a lot about the books, so I got to go into this movie with fresh eyes. I thought even the way the title popped up was very unique. He's just kind of there doing all these dances, and and then it's Dogman. But I loved all the moments, as I said, where he's arresting them, just the way he kind of swings the handcuffs around and smacks them down, and like even when he's surfing on the thing, I was like, oh, and then like he falls in the water and then he saves him, like, so showing, oh shit, even though he's the villain, he's still a good guy, he's not going to let the villain drown. Oh sorry, even though Petey's a villain, Dogman ain't going to let him drown. And I just love when he's like, Dogman, you saved my life. Before you arrest me, I just want to say, oh, what? It's like arrested and all that. But yeah, I just thought Petey was a very fun character. He was actually my favorite character in the movie. I thought he was just really, really funny. Um, like when he's like, why don't I use a cloning machine? I'll go and order it, huh? Where do I go? This way? Like, oh, no. And they've like a funny joke. I can't remember the line exactly, but they've like a funny joke where he's like kind of, that I thought was, one second, I'm going to be doing this throughout the video just because someone might walk in. Okay, maybe not. They've like a funny joke in the film where like he's like an internet joke, like, oh god, or whatever, and he's like, clone a machine, there we go, gets it, okay, let's do this, whatever, let's order it, and then like it eventually goes to the door, he ordered the clone machine, it's like, oh yes, whatever, and then he's like, yes, let's do this, and all that, so he's like putting the thing on, I'm gonna do it, and he's just like putting it on, it's very like colourful, it's like, I'm gonna create a human clone, and he goes, take a bit of my DNA, and like just even that, I was like, ow, it's like those little jokes are so well done, and it's that kind of quick humour that like, as I said before, like Edgar Wright films have, even like the Spider-Verse movies have it, plus the thing you get this electricity, he's like, oh, whatever, it's like, come on, evil clone, and then, he comes out, and it's Petey. It's a little Petey. He's like, what? He's like, Papa? He's like, no, I'm not your Papa. Go away. And all that. He's just like, Papa, please. And all that. It's just so funny. He's like, no. It's like, wait, 18 years. It's like, okay, no. This, that, and the other. It's like, older button, delete button. Sold separately. Oh my god. It's just such a smart humor. And you get like, what do we do, Papa? And all that stuff. And he's just kind of like, he's like, no, I'm not your Papa. And then like for a while, they're kind of going back and forth. And it's so funny because it's the opposite. It's like, you look evil. And he's just like, no. And he's like, why? He's like, I want to do this. Why? He's like, stop saying why? And then he's like, the part where he's like, right, this is where you're sleeping. Opens up the thing, has the water there. Has a fucking bucket, you're sleeping in there, or whatever. I thought that was really funny. And he's just like, I'm sleeping with you. No, I'm not. You're sleeping in there. And then they kind of go back and forth for a while. And it's a really well written joke. And he's like, okay, no. And he explains this reason. You gotta sleep in there because blah, 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 blah. And he just goes, I'm sleeping with you. And it's just such a funny, dialogue scene between them, and you have that kind of thing where like he's lying on his head, it's like just go away. He's lying on his stomach. He's like, Papa, let's do something, Papa. Come on, Papa. He's just like, no, lie over there, sit down, shut up. And that scene goes on, and it's funny. And then you get just these different moments where they're kind of like bonding. He's trying to get rid of him. He's like, and then like it's like doing all this other stuff, and he goes like, oh, free cat for sale or whatever, and he's like, oh, how much is it? And the guy's like, he's like, what do you mean, how much is it? It's free. Okay, I'll pay $1. It's like, no, it's free. You don't have to pay for it. It's like, it's $1. Oh, what part of free do you not understand? It's like, there you go. Oh, people are so stupid. Then he says something. Oh, I don't want it. He's really rude. Then eventually he goes off or whatever. And I just found that funny. He's like, little Petey. He's like, yes, he's gone. And he goes back to do all this evil stuff. And then like I love how he keeps popping up. I'm miserable in a bunch of different scenes, like when he's at the lab and he's at other places. You know, that was funny. And then he's like, Papa, and then like you got a moment where like you know, he's kind of just walking around the place at night. He goes, I'm miserable, and then it gets quite dark. It's just like the car nearly hits him, and Dogman's kind of walking and sees him, and then just runs over, barking, and fucking grabs him, and he's like, "Hi, it's nice to meet you," and all that. And then like he kind of starts bonding with Dogman, going, "Oh, it's really nice to meet you," and then they kind of have a montage of doing different things, and he brings him home, and he's like, "Oh, is this where you sleep?" And then he gets like a little bed for him and puts him down, and it's like a really wholesome, sleepy, sweet scene. He's like, "Oh, is this where you are?" It's like, "That's great. Can you find my papa or whatever?" And they kind of just have a bunch of scenes where they bond, where he goes down and has breakfast the next day. All this sort of like really nice stuff, and throughout the film, you just see a bunch of different scenes, whether in the kitchen, whether in like different parts of the city, bonding essentially. And I just thought those are really nice, wholesome scenes. Um, yeah, sorry, I'm a bit crazy. So, mm, um, there was many scenes in the film where Lil Rel's character, the cop, is like talking to, um, is talking to the likes of. Sorry, I'm fucking talking a million miles an hour. I'm gonna get a bottle of water. 1 second. Sorry. So yeah, yeah. So where was I? Fuck. So I loved all that stuff with them bonding. You know, they're doing a bunch of different things, and of course, little Petey's constantly like asking them questions, like, "What's this? Why?" And he's just like, "You're great. You're amazing. I'm miserable." And then Dogman's kind of just barking back. And the fact that they were able to make Dogman such a likable character, when the character doesn't speak, he just barks like a dog, because that's what he fucking is. You know, and I loved all the scenes where he's just jumping in, and he's kind of like, woo, and he's just kind of running, and then I love like all the O's coming out of the thing and stuff, like of his mouth and stuff. So I love that. What else I love? I loved as I said, I loved Lil Rel. I thought Lil Rel was great. Like he was another great voice actor. And whoever they played, the young Petey was great as well. Done a lot, like had a lot of emotion, had a lot of range, was happy, was positive, had that nice, positive, wholesome message, is what I loved as well. So I was a big fan of that. But Lil Rel never disappoints. I've talked about him on the channel before. In my Get Out review, he's so funny. He's just a very, very funny dude. So I love everything with him. It's like, "Dog man, get in here. You gotta do this, that, and the other." Blah, 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 blah. So there's loads of scenes where he's like, "I don't want to hear this, Dog man." And Dog man's like, you know, talking and barking back to him. And there's many different scenes, like, "The mayor's breathing down my neck." He's like, "What?" Or whatever. And you get loads of scenes where he's like telling Dogman to go on, do your job, like the way a stereotypical detective would. And it's just funny and it's bizarre, and I love that. So he runs out, and he's almost a bit like a kind of a Playmobil character or something. I don't know. Just that kind of vibe. And he gets in the police car and he's running down the street. Go get him, Dogman. And he was just a funny character, you know. There's many scenes where he's in his office at the start of the film. It's like, you're on the case. You gotta do this, that, and the other. And then there's scenes where he's like, sorry, you're off the case. Like, I told you you're off the case and all this stuff. And he's there. There's the donuts. Grab them. And he's like, throws them on the ground. He's like, here it is. And then like picks them up. I think this part is like he throws the donut and it hits the mayor. It's like, oh, sorry, mayor, you know. And then he throws the donut and then Dogman like I think goes to eat it. It just does all these funny things, and I love like of course dog humor. I have a dog. I thought the dog humor was very well done. It's like you got to stay at this monitor. You got to look at this thing, and you are not allowed bark. Look around. You're not allowed. If someone says you if you see another dog, you don't bark. He's like, If you look, you're not allowed to. He's like, stop. Look at the monitor. You're not allowed to get distracted by a squeaky toy or your favorite treat or anything. He's like, you know, and he started sweating. He's like, your favorite treat. He jumps and starts licking. Like, Dogman, get off me, get off me, or whatever. Like that's just that kind of humor is funny. But I like that the trailer was a bit misleading because it makes it out like he's an asshole and he really isn't. So I really liked that in the movie. The trailer was misleading. So you also have the news reporter. She pops up many different times in the film. It's like, oh, I got to get this story. I got to do this, and she talks to the cameraman, and the cameraman's played by Billy Boyd, and he's like, okay, we're going to get this story. It's going to be great and all that. And he's like, come on, we have so much to do. We have to get it. I need to get this. I need to be a real reporter and all that. So you get to see her before she sets up the camera through the film. We got to do this police interview or whatever, and you know, you see her in the city, and we got an interview with Dogman, and then you see breaking news, and many times throughout the film you see like the breaking news thing. Breaking news, we have this top story about Dogman, blah 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 blah, and Evil Petey has escaped, and then she also pops up in the montage of he's escaped. And then I love the thing where it's like, we found out that Petey, that the baby cat that Dogman is protecting is Evil Petey, which was so obvious. Like, I don't get why he's so shocked about this. It just, that's funny. The headlines are funny. I was like, Dogman saves another cat and all that. And I love when she goes, we're here at the lab of something. I can't remember what it's called. And we see people inside the lab. It's like, oh, we make this, that, and the other. And all of it has something to do with the plot, you know. I love when she's at the, you know, someone's giving a lecture and she's talking for a while and saying any questions, and he's like, yeah, what, she's like, what about this? Do you have this, that? It's like, no, I love that she's the only one there, and I think the cameraman's there, and she's like, yeah, oh, how about you? It's like, yes. And she asks and proceeds to talk about her questions, but all of it is so relevant to the plot. I find it so funny as well how she's like, there's no way that anyone could break into this lab. And the woman's like, oh, there's no way anyone could break into this lab. And then like, you know, Evil Petey's there like just kind of watching, God, I hate Dogman, watching the news. And then like she literally describes the entire plan. Let's go to jump through the air vent and do all this other stuff. And he's just like, whoa, that's a great idea. It's like, no one could possibly do that. And like he's like, yes, that's what I'm gonna do. And then you think you see him do that and that plan, and there's a whole brilliant scene like that there and stuff. I just thought the dialogue and the comedy was so well written there. The little show don't tell moments are great in this film. You know, where he picks up the ball and it says Greg, and he, you know, see it throughout the film. It's a lot of emotional attachment to it, and he looks at photos of him and photos of him and his girlfriend, and when he walks into the house that he lives in, you know, he visualizes it the way it used to be. He sees Greg, he's like, oh guys, come on, and he's there with his girlfriend, like, yeah, let's go. And then the dog jumps up and he's there like petting him, and he's just kind of like all sad and walking around and sees the way it used to be, and it's like, it's actually quite an emotional scene. But then again, the humor worked. I thought that the humor for the movie really worked. I love little moments of him getting up, getting ready, eating cereal, and then even with like him little Petey being like, "Oh yeah, this is great" and all that, and then him talking and him giving him cereal, giving him like food, and like even when it said free cat, like the little sweet moment of like cat's bed and all that. It's just a really nice moment. Um, and then like even you know the development of Petey not wanting little Petey at first, and now then wanting him. That was really nice. I love the walk that Dogman and Petey Gone's like, oh look at these flowers, they're beautiful. That little Petey Gone, they're beautiful, and just that kind of nice animated scene. And then obviously when they're walking back, it's like this is such a nice place. Like this is awful, because when they're walking back, as I mentioned that scene earlier near the end where little Petey's like annoyed about it or whatever, but I love the moment where Big Petey, Little Petey are walking and you see the reflection in the water, and Big Petey's like, "Oh, that's awful," whatever. But then Little Petey's like, "Oh, but it's so nice." And when Big Petey goes into Dogman's house and he's like, "Hey, Papa, what are you doing here?" He's like, "Come on with me," and goes off. Um, that moment is great. And he goes back to the house and he goes, "Look, my dad got up and left. He went away. Blah 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 blah." Whatever. He went to get milk and never came back. That kind of thing, which I thought was so funny in this because it's just like the cat is like, right, he has that kind of thing. He's like, with the cat or whatever. He's like, because he's a cat. And then I love that part where he's a machine's like, oh, we're probably going to get milk and never came back. Oh, I'm gonna go get milk because I'm a cat. Ugh, I get it or whatever. So I'm gonna have milk, yeah, because I'm a cat. Ugh, that was funny. I love when he builds that big robot. It was like the PE 3000 and all that. And then that robot becomes important, and he uses it. He's like, "Come on, dog, man!" He fights it or whatever. And that scene, I thought it was actually a wholesome scene. It's like, "Hey, why don't you go and find his father or whatever?" The like little Petey goes and surprises him. He goes off to space, comes back with the father. He's like, "Dad?" He's like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" It's like, "What are you doing here?" And all that. It's like, oh, "This is pathetic." It's like, "He's more smart than you. You're pathetic," and all this stuff. And the older Petey's just being a dick, and you get a whole scene of him just being an asshole. And he's like, "Whoa, son, did you build all of this?" "Yeah, Dad, I did." He's like, "Well, you're such a loser." Like it's even more pathetic than I thought. Like the dark humor was really really funny as well. And you get a whole last scene of him just at him. He's like, he has more brains than you, and then the little cat being nicer, and the grumpy old dad being a dick, and him just like, "Stop it, Dad! You're not helping," or whatever. And you have the three of them bickering, and he's building this machine, and a few other scenes, and yeah, a good few other scenes with the father just being an asshole. He's like, "Oh goddamn, Petey," or he doesn't say goddamn. Obviously, it's a kids movie, but he's like, "Petey, that's you can't do this," blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And I enjoyed all that. I thought that was enjoyable. But another thing I'll say about the humor is really well written for kids. There's stuff that kids will enjoy, but there's definitely stuff that adults will enjoy. There was stuff that me and my friend seen this the other day. A lot of other kids in the cinema. Uh, but we enjoyed it. We really enjoyed the humor. I love any time that there's a bunch of different scenes where Dogman jumps on PE and he's not in the mouth. Don't lick me in the mouth, and it's kind of a bunch of scenes where Lil Rel's getting like, don't lick me in the mouth, blah 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 blah. Um, I love the interview scene where the girl is interviewing Lil Rel's character. They're talking for a bit, and then she points the mic and hits him in the kind of face, and he's like, "I'm definitely not in love with you or anything," and he kind of says that throughout the movie. And then there's the moment where they're talking in the office, and he's kind of like, trying like, "I want to be a real reporter. If I want a big story, I want this. Well, you got to do this, that, and the other." It's like, I suppose, and you have Billy Boyd, who I thought was quite funny. "Oh, I'm going to get this. I'm going to report it." And actually, I didn't. He was so good in this because I didn't even realize it was him. Like I forgot he was in it, but like he was so like his voice was so like there was something about it in this film. It wasn't like it was Scottish accent, yeah, but it wasn't the traditional kind of one. Um, I love the moments where Dogman is kind of being a detective and going through the place, and you got that humor where he's picking up the papers like, "Just get this away, and he keeps throwing it, and the dog keeps kind of running back. He's like, stop it, and he keeps running back and putting it back. Dogman, stop it, and puts it back, runs away. All that, thought all that was great. Um, you get funny moments like that. It's like, you're not gonna have to do this. You got to do this. You got to do that. That lab is just right over there, and it does that kind of thing. It's like, and you have this thing of like, there's these kind of jokes with different letters and stuff at the start of the film, through the film, and like the super awesome lab is right over there, and you kind of get little moments where there's like little drawings and little illustrations. A lot of the stuff, that type of animation stuff that was in like Captain Underpants. I actually do believe that Dogman originally appeared in a Captain Underpants book as well. But I really dug this film. Um, I get I like its foreshadowing as well. Ricky Gervais is actually a voice in this. He's the main villain. Um, I thought that um the finale was awesome. Uh, Dogman's there, he's running, he's like, I got my plan ready, and he gets in the robot, he's like, here's the third act. He's kind of fighting, and then he gets this thing, and he goes up, and he's like, he goes in, he steals the fish, he's like, I got you now, and he kind of has it in his lab, he's doing all these different experiments, and then he uses all this kind of like, he's like, I got this, and then he uses this kind of ray to make it, to like, bring it to life. It's like, oh yes, I'm evil. I'm gonna destroy all do-gooders. And I didn't even know Ricky Gervais was in it, but I knew once I heard the voice. I was like, yep. He was also great in it. He was funny. He brought that charm. You also had the evil buildings coming to life. Blah blah blah. It's like, it seems like buildings are coming to life, and the buildings are kind of coming to like, oh, it's like, it seems like buildings are coming to life and eating people and all that. And they were like, a building's kind of like eating, and they're like, oh my god, and they're like, what is that? And then you get the funny jokes. I can see my house from here, and the house waves. I'm like, oh my god. So all the houses are kind of there, and you got the disco house that's dancing and all that. And the finale is great, because you get so many movies where there's like a big epic fight in the fucking city, but not a movie where the city is literally coming to life. So you had, I'm gonna destroy all do-gooders, and he's all there like that. So the fight at the beginning of the third act, he's like, Papa, what are you doing, and all that. And I even loved the moment where, you know, Dogman looks, is like, he's my evil clone or whatever, and Dogman looks and finds out that they're both, that little Petey is Big Petey's evil clone. But I just found it so funny. I just thought it was so goddamn funny that he didn't figure it out. But the fact that the movie pokes fun at that, I think, is another reason why it's funny. But you get an epic finale. You get this kind of whole third act where Dogman is fighting Petey throughout it, and he has the big gigantic robot, and they're fighting him at first for a good while, and he's about to destroy him. But then he stops him. He's like, you're under arrest. And then, like, you have Petey interacting with Lil Rel's like, yeah, I'm going to get you. He's like, you can't get me. And, they kind of interact and bicker throughout the film as well. And in that scene's like, good job, Dogman. But then eventually, he realizes, he's like, I'm going to destroy all do-gooders. Like, yes. And then he detects that the little kid he's like, yes, you're evil fish. Yes, you can help me. He's going to destroy all of you do-gooders, because that's what he wants to say as well. That's what Petey does. He's like, oh, I want to destroy do-gooders. But then you get a moment where, it shows, one sec, where it shows baby Petey, young Petey, and it says extreme do-gooder. They capture him. It's like, oh my god, baby Petey. And he says, Dogman, look, you can arrest me later. We gotta go save baby Petey. And like, you get this great moment where they team up. It's like, oh my, Dogman is teaming up with Petey. And then they're kind of like going through, and they're fighting all these houses. And you get this great action sequence where they're like, stopping all these, like, fighting all these buildings. The buildings are really eating them. It's a really fun, entertaining, and they're gonna, finale's like, oh, I'm gonna get you, do-gooder, and all this, and he's gonna drop him in a volcano. And then, like, I love when Ricky Gervais goes up to the, it's kind of, fish goes up to the camera. I love the moment where Petey goes and uses this experiment thing, and he turns him to life, and he's like, I'm gonna get you, do-gooders. And then throughout the movie, there's a moment it's like, we got to get this evil fish, maybe to stop Petey. We got to get this evil fish, you know. It's like, do you really think that's a good idea to do that? And they use him in the lab, and he becomes evil or whatever. Um, you know, it's like this evil fish. We stopped him a long time ago, and like that was great foreshadowing. You know, you have that's when Little Rel takes the fish out of the drawer thing or whatever. There's definitely parallels to the finale of Captain Underpants because the villain, Mr. Poopy Pants, whatever what his name was, in that movie wanted to destroy all laughter. This person wants to destroy all do-gooders. It's a similar plan. Humor is very similar. The look of the characters, the characters' looks are designed exactly how they are in the book, and I like that. I don't know the book. I'm not familiar with it. I was actually in a bookshop recently where they had the books just before going to see the movie, and I was looking through them. I was like, Jesus, they really did capture the art well. But the animation style works. I love when he jumps. I love all of that kind of stuff. But you get this amazing action sequence at the end. I love that moment where like Petey's like, Dogman, I know we were arch enemies for a long time, and now we're allies, but it's been real. Look after him for me. And then they go, and he nearly drops him in the volcano. They're like, stop it. They go and stop him. They're like, little Petey, and then they stop him. And then he's like, I'm going to destroy do-gooders. And he keeps going, why? And he goes, because I want to. Why? Because I was bullied. And he's like, because no one's nice to me. It's like, it sounds, and then little Pete, he's like, sounds like you just need a friend. And, you know, eventually he stops him. And then you get a funny scene where the cop comes and he's like, okay, I'll surrender. He tries to arrest him. He's like, stop it. And the handcuffs are too big for him. And then you get the moment where, you know, the girl's like saying to Lil Rel, look, he's like, I'm in love with you. I've been in love with you for a long time. He said, no, Lil Rel says it to her, and she's like, yes, I'm in love with you too. They get together. Um, they save the day. You get that great finale at the volcano, and all the just great finale fighting the cities and stuff, city buildings, I should say. Um, and yeah, like just a really great scene. You know, him and the girl getting together, um, going on a date. You know, Dogman, uh, still being a cop, getting to be a cop back on the case, and then even the mayor going, you're a great Petey, you know, he's like, okay, you're going to jail. It's like, Petey, you are now a hero and all that stuff. And Dogman, you're a hero. You did great and all that. And then he's like, well, this is, and, you know, Billy Boyd's like, well, this is great. This is a great idea, you know. Um, and it was nice to hear those kind of accents in this film as well. Um, but yeah, and I really enjoyed that stuff. I loved, you know, the finale of the two of them being in a house and then him being sad or whatever. Um, you know, the two cats or whatever. And then I loved Dogman kind of missing him and missing the time he had with, you know, the cat, and they had photos together and it was even in the newspaper and stuff like that. And oh, Dogman and Petey saved the day, and I like the newspaper little things they had. And then he goes, hey, I know we used to be arch enemies and all, but maybe, I don't know, little Petey could stay with you sometimes. You know, he goes to the house and it's all happy and they become friends, and it's a really nice, wholesome scene, and it's just really well done. Like, really well written, great dialogue, great dramatic scenes, although there's not a lot of them. Amazing comedy, really, really funny with the slapstick comedy. Animation is great, editing is great. Just a really enjoyable fucking film, really. I love the opening. You know, I forgot to mention the opening scene with the fucking, you know, the great pan and shot, and you get a great, like, dog man, you gotta, come on, you gotta do it. And you have the cop, and he's kind of like in a chase scene. He's like, yeah, and the cat's there, I'm gonna destroy you. And the dog sticks his head out the window, and you get this really great action sequence of him fighting Petey, and Jump's like, come on, we gotta go and stop him. And he's like, bark, bark, whatever, and he's there jumping, and then just a really fun scene. I'm gonna get you, and then he's like, come on, you gotta get him, and then like just a really fun like scene that goes on for maybe like 5 minutes, and then he nearly falls off the building, and it's like, oh, whatever. Then eventually ends up in an accident, rushed to the hospital. It's like he's been in an accident and all this, and he's pushed in, and then they're doing operations. Like, what if we swapped both of their heads? Imagine if we like swapped the dog's head with the human, and they're like, and then it just happens that way. But yeah, I also love the credits of the film where you have the different animations, and you have the I feel good, boom, it's like a remix or whatever. And I love the part where, yeah, because at the end of the film as well, like you have Lil Rel and all them, the other girl coming back, and they're like, oh, what's up? It's great to see it, great to have you back. And then you see a building, and you're thinking, oh no, is this going to be a cliffhanger? And then it's the dancing building, then they dance, and then it goes to another part, and then you know, um, you get more scenes with them like playing and just fucking hanging out or whatever. But it doesn't do the tradition of like having it end with a dance party. So yeah, overall, and I love seeing the scenes and the shots of him like jumping and running. So yeah, overall, I love Dogman. I thought it was great. I don't actually have any issues with it. I know this might sound a bit bizarre. I remember my friend turns to me and goes, "That was a fucking trip." I'm like, "Yeah." I give it a 10 out of 10. I know that might sound like a high rating for an animated film, but for a film like this, but I found it very funny. I thought it was very creative. I don't know how well it adapted the books. I'd say it was well, capturing the art style. It was beautiful to look at visually. It was funny. It was well written. It was well edited. The aesthetic was great. I love the moment where they're about to have the final fight, and like the screen kind of gets all cinematic, and you get the close ups and all that. The music was great. Some of the just the comedy music. The fact that like Dogman's eating something, and then you have a fucking phone ringing, and it's I can buy myself flowers, and he picks it up, and all of that was great. The characters were just enjoyable. I know the romance was a bit forced, I will say, but that's more of a nitpick. That's like whatever. It didn't bother me that much. Um, Overall, I really enjoyed Dogman. I loved it. Very well written, directed, animated camera work. DreamWorks intro was great. I love that new DreamWorks intro, and it changes with each film. You got the Kung Fu Panda, Madagascar, Trolls, Shrek, um, the Bad Guys. What was the latest DreamWorks film? They added, I think, a few others into that. If you Puss in Boots, all of that. Um, it's just a great film overall, Dogman. I loved it. And I don't actually think it needs a sequel. I won't like. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't mind a sequel, but I actually think that this was kind of a great standalone movie. It had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it's perfect the way it is. So yeah, that was my movie review of Dogman. I will see you guys later, and bye.